We've now crossed into Illinois. We're starting our tour here in Illinois, and we're on Highway 136 traveling east again, and we've got a cross section of both beans and corn. This field's not looking too bad here on the beans and the corn. You're seeing a little bit of some tasseling and some silking here showing up. Well, we're now on day 5 of the U.S. Midwest Crop Tour, and it's July 19th. It's somewhere in the afternoon. We're experiencing another hot day. The weather forecasters are calling for the last day of the 90-plus degrees. We're at 95, 96 again today, just like late yesterday. You add some humidity and you're getting up to that 100-plus degree weather. Here's a soybean field in Illinois. We're traveling east on Highway 136, going towards the Illinois border, and folks, I've liked what I see in Illinois compared to what I saw in Iowa and some parts of Missouri. Really good looking soybean fields and cornfields. Well, it's day 5 on the crop tour here in the U.S. Midwest. We're now looking at a cornfield. Again, the corn here in Illinois is looking really good. We got tassels, we got silking going on. We're going to have pollination here pretty soon. You can see here some of the ears that are starting to form. So again, some really good looking corn. It's dry, it's hot. We'll see if the weather forecasters are right where they calling for that cold front from Canada to cool things down next week over the next 10 days as pollination happens. We're now next to a soybean field. We're traveling east on Highway 136, traveling east towards Indiana. We're in Illinois right now, and this is a pretty good looking soybean field. There are a lot of farmers across the Midwest complaining about the subpar conditions on soybeans. Everybody's complaining that we need a rain soon. Of course, soybeans are planted a little bit later, but you can see here that these plants are doing quite well. A lot of flowers there. So we'll continue with our tour, and we're going to slowly end our tour in Illinois. Day 5 of Farms.com Risk Management 2013 Midwest Crop Tour. We're in Illinois. We're concluding our tour in Illinois. By the way, I want to thank our sponsor this year, Pride Seed. And you know, a lot of farmers are complaining about the different crop development stages in corn. This is a good looking cornfield here in Illinois, tasseling, silking, and soon to pollinate. But again, a lot of farmers complaining that we need some rain soon. Here's another corn ear. It looks like the process is doing what it needs to do. Needs some more time here to fill up this ear, but looking good so far. It's day 6 of the 2013 U.S. Midwest Crop Tour. I want to thank Pride Seeds for our sponsorship this year. We've got another hot day again. We've cooled off a little bit. Weather forecasts are calling for some rain today. We're just north of Lafayette in Indiana. We've traveled north on Highway 65, now on Highway 231. We're staying in front of a cornfield. We did get a downpour of for about 2-3 hours. A lot of farmers have been saying that there's been a lot of dew in the morning, which is helping the crops. But as we've traveled north, the crops in Indiana, both beans and corn, maybe getting a little worse. So we're getting a little bit more of that variation in growth stages in corn and smaller size planted beans as we continue our tour, Midwest tour for 2013. We would expect that on Monday in the USDA Crop Progress Report, the USDA is probably going to have to lower crop conditions in both corn and beans by 1 to 3 percentage points. Again, we got rain in Lafayette, Indiana, but I've checked in with a few other farmer clients in Iowa, and they got very little rain, little to no rain. So I'm not sure if that rain's going to fall this weekend as everybody expected. Well, welcome back. We're on day 7 of the 2013 Midwest U.S. Crop Tour. We're traveling southeast on Highway 231. We're still in Indiana. We're going to be approaching the Ohio border soon. I want to thank Pride Seeds for sponsoring our tour this year. And as we travel further east and south, Some of the corn is looking dry. We're getting some corn that's looking pretty yellow at the bottom. Forecast for calling for rain yesterday and today. The radar doesn't look like it's showing a lot of rain here today in the U.S. Midwest. This corn here, tasseling, it's silking. You can see the corn ear. Looks like things are good, but you know, get some rain soon. This kernel is going to have a tough time filling this ear, so we need some rain soon. We're still traveling through Indiana. It's day 7, July 21st. We're just finishing up our tour in Indiana. We're going to be crossing the Ohio border here. We're on Highway 36 traveling east, and we're at a soybean field. This is probably the best soybean field I've seen on our tour thus far. It's nice and tall. We got lots of flowers in here. Looks healthy and dark green. So if I was to conclude about Indiana, you know, I think a good 80+% of the corn and beans are looking really good here in Indiana. Probably need some rain, but other than that, thus far so good. We finally crossed the Ohio border. It's our 10th state on our tour. We started off with Michigan, then we briefly went northern Wisconsin. We're going to come back to Michigan tomorrow, but as we finish our tour in Ohio tomorrow. But this is our first soybean field in Ohio as we've traveled east across Ohio on Highway 36 and then 41, heading a little bit south. These are just as good as some of those, that last soybean field I showed you in Indiana. These are really good looking, dark green, healthy, flowering soybeans here in Ohio. Probably, I'm going to rank the states for you by the time I'm done, and I got to think Ohio and Indiana are ranking number 1, number 2. Ohio probably at the top. It looks like maybe Ohio did get more rain. We're on Highway 41 traveling southeast in Ohio, and we're in front of a cornfield, and I gotta rank Ohio and Indiana kind of 1 and 2, probably Ohio number 1. We got some really good cornfields. Consistency across the state so far that we've traveled. Just across the road there, you can see those soybeans. They're even taller than the last ones I showed you. Those are waist high. So some of this corn and beans is probably planted early, got the rains, and we're looking good. It's day 8, July 22nd, 2013. We continue our tour through Ohio. We're traveling north, Highway 75. We just got off of Highway 30, and the corn and beans consistently look pretty good here in Ohio. The last client we were with in Springfield, Ohio, summed it up pretty good. Ohio seems to be the Garden of Eden. They've gotten the heat, they've gotten the moisture, and things look good here in Ohio. It's day 8, July 22nd. We're finalizing our tour here in Ohio. We're approaching Bowling Green on Highway 25, and we're next to a soybean field. As we've traveled north, in fact, I think some of this moisture that Ohio has been getting may be stressing some of the beans. We haven't seen a lot of unevenness in the beans to date, and we're starting to see it in some of these bean fields. Here, we're a little saturated today because we got some good rains, and you can see further out there, some of that moisture is turning the beans yellow. So again, overall looking okay, but maybe the beans are usually in August is usually the month that makes the beans, but maybe some of this moisture in Ohio is a little bit too much for the beans. We've now traveled across the border from Ohio into Michigan. It's our last state on our tour for 2013. I want to thank Prize Seed for our sponsorship this year. As we traveled across the border, corn looks pretty well like it did in Ohio. Some consistency here. We got some tasseling, silking. Maybe the ears are a little bit smaller. But overall looks pretty good here. Now, we traveled through Michigan 3 weeks ago when we initially started our tour, and the corn was a lot shorter than it is right now, obviously, but still looking pretty good here. Well, we're finally going to end our 2013 U.S. crop tour here in Michigan. We're near Port Huron, on the border of Port Huron. This is a soybean field here. This one's not a bad field. We've got some drowned out areas, but overall looking really good. So I'm going to make some conclusions for you. Based on my observations across 10 states and over 3,000 miles, each state had its own sore thumbs. The biggest sore thumb was north central Iowa and Minnesota. Lots of moisture stressing those crops, and a lot of fields, thousands of acres, did not go in. So in the August WASDE report, the USDA is going to have to adjust their assessment of harvested acres in both Minnesota and Iowa. So we've got lower harvested acres, but lower harvested acres, even if it's 1 million, I'm not sure it's close to 2 or 3 million. As long as production's above 13 billion bushels, that's going to put pressure on prices. We've been bearish since September of last year. I think prices are still going lower, unfortunately. I did not see anything in my observations that told me that there's a drought around the corner like last year. The west is dry, the east is wet. Sometimes the east is too wet, and that moisture may be causing some problems. But overall, other than that, north central Iowa, lower Minnesota, the rest of the country is dark and green. It doesn't look like the forecast is going to throw a lot of heat through the next 10 days, as most of the U.S. pollinates. So unfortunately, with the funds record short, I'm not sure there's going to be anything here to spook it. Now, beans have been rallying because of strong demand for meal, very tight old crop pushing new crop higher. But even on the bean side, and beans will not be made till August, but I'm still thinking the corn yield comes in around 150, 155. USDA currently at 156.5. Soybean yield comes in at 42, 44. USDA currently at 44.5. As long as we got production on beans between 3.2 and 3.4 billion bushels, I think long term we got pressure on soybean prices as well. So overall, looks like prices are headed lower. Because some of these crops are delayed by 1 to 2 weeks in the west, maybe as much as a month, harvest lows may not happen till the middle of October or the end of October. Typically, it's closer to October 1st. Until next time or next year, thanks for watching. Make sure you watch the entire video. If you haven't had a chance to do the whole video, I want to thank Pride Seeds for sponsoring me this year. And I hope I've provided you with some observations and insight into this year's growing season.